Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another reaction. This one's weird. Otto's Elf. I actually know Otto very well. Not personally, obviously, but I've heard a lot of her work over the years. Some from way back in the day, stuff that's way more recent. You name it, she's come across my feed so many times. I've heard so much of her stuff. I love her voice. I love her general energy. She just doesn't know that she's famous for some reason. That's adorable. Anyway, I'm going to be listening to Elf today as a request from my executive producer, Lysaria, on Patreon, and this is what I'm doing. I didn't really expect to get an Otto song, and I also don't know if I maybe have heard this one because I tend to hear the songs and not know what their names are a lot of the time. That's just something that happens to me. I don't tend to pay attention to the titles most times, especially when I'm just vibing to a freeform playlist, so I may have heard this song, but I won't know if I don't listen. So without further ado, let's go! I was told to listen with captions on. I know a little Japanese, but not enough, you know? This doesn't sound familiar so far, so it's possible I haven't heard it. Usually I start recognizing it at the chorus though, so we'll see. God, she has such a beautiful voice. Seriously, I can never get over how good she is. Okay, doesn't sound familiar. We're in new territory then. God, the visuals on this too. Absolutely gorgeous artwork. Ooh. What's going on there? I can't pinpoint what instrument that is. Can't tell if it was like a mallet instrument. Could have been like a pluck of a stringed one too. Ooh. Okay, sorry, I just really like that build up. That was really nice. I also like that she doesn't just belt into this. A lot of songs, Otto will belt. And she does kind of hit a mix here, but it's not her large, full energy belting. Oh. Starting to break through that energy. We're probably going to be getting a belt on this last refrain then. Yeah. Oh. Ooh. Into the head note. Damn. Here we go. Oh no, they kept her, they restrained. Again, there's still a mix, but... there it is. Kind of more of a scream than a belt there, but the energy. cute little story, too. Some people would call that tragic, but like, I don't know, I wasn't getting that from it as far as the story goes. I mean, it wasn't exactly the happiest story ever, no, but like, it felt still warm by the end. That was actually really nice. So this is one of those songs where it could easily have multiple ways to interpret the visuals especially, but the lyrics are even more vague. The visuals kind of give you an overview that makes things a little bit more clear to me, at least, with like the details of like that feather being the same shape and color as the elf's eyes, and then the like constant fading in and out between like moments in the girl's life. So my thought is that the elf to some degree can like experience or see what's going on in this little girl's life, as long as the feather that is obviously like on her bedside table is in view of what's going on. So they're kind of building this kind of disconnected relationship, almost one-sided, because I don't think the little girl understands that, but she finds like a piece in this item, this feather that she found when she was a kid in front of this giant fucking creepy looking thing, to be real with you. That would scare the shit out of me if I were a toddler, not gonna lie. And it's still like, okay, cool. So there's still like a weird comforting feeling coming from this, so, you know, keep it out and keep it around. But at some point she puts it away, almost as if she started to feel guilty or wrong for it, like maybe she's starting to regret having taken this thing and knew she shouldn't have been there. And there's like that, you know, welling guilt in the soul that will build up over time. And then at some point she decided it's just been too long, and she started to feel guilty to the point where she needed to return the item, or felt some need to go and return to this elf in that moment and like almost apologize for whatever reason. And the elf just kind of, with the whole scene at the end of like the elf touching her on the head and like reverting her back to the younger version of her, it's like, okay, so there's that inner peace moment where there's a forgiveness happening there for whatever reason. I'm not sure if like the elf in this story is holy in some way, shape, or form. There were people in that garb around, especially at the end, that were like leading the elf somewhere. I'm just not sure where. I think that was left ambiguous on purpose. It's just impossible to tell those details, which is why this song is so hard to fully decipher, because it is vague. It is ambiguous in a lot of ways, because you're supposed to experience this and make your own story out of it, I believe. I feel like the lyrics are probably just supposed to be telling a more generalized story of somebody who is going through a lot in their life and not knowing how to process that, but also just to be proud of who they've become over that time despite their grievances with it. And I think that's where it's supposed to reflect in the video, where they kind of gave it an identity through the characters that we meet. It makes a lot more sense that way, but also if the elf is a character in the lyrics, then it must be connected to the elf in the video. This must have been a one-to-one. Potentially. Maybe the elf in the song and the lyrics specifically is supposed to be a more, again, generalized version of what an elf is. And if I may flex my nerd hat a little bit, the elven idea is so broad. There are so many elves in modern mythology, but also I think that this elf, stylistically and in what it's doing in the story, kind of lines up with like a more proto style of elf, like the really early, probably more Scandinavian flair of elf, albeit design wise is definitely more unique here, but has all the average stuff that we've come to know and love about the elven culture, which is like the immortality, or at least near immortality in some ways, again depending on which one you're talking about, as well as other things like their playfulness and their desire for learning, but also extremely kind and basically all-knowing in a way. Some of them even do have the ability to see through time, or, you know, process that level of intellectual knowledge that we are far below. And that could be the case with this one, where this is an elf that can exude that power in some way, shape, or form, in this way probably through through the whole feather eye connection. Like if there is a piece of it somewhere, then it can perceive that reality in kind as its own and is able to process all of that information. I'm not entirely sure here, but this does feel like the type of elf that is like a good omen, not a bad omen, more like what the Germanic elves are. So there's, again, plenty of variants out there, and I don't think that this is a one-to-one of any of those. I think this is its own variant of an elf, but the whole point of this and bringing up the whole elf thing and what that means is that this is probably supposed to be a character that is bringing calm to them, somebody that is bringing a general happiness or a comfort to this little girl, because that is a part of a lot of their lore, and a lot of different elves have this sort of effect on people, this like desire to want to be friends with them because they are so seemingly omnipotent, omniscient in some ways, and just kind of warm and comforting. And that's just how they are, because it's what they are as a race. So I think that that's the relationship going on here. And again, I don't know if this is exactly a one-to-one, like if this is supposed to be an elf, or if she in the lyrics is comparing the person in the story to an elf, and the visual side just decided to take that literally and run with it, you know? Because like if you're bringing up an elf, but if again in lore, that's who they are, a character or a person that is largely going to make you feel comfortable and at home and understand you. And it's just, there is this essence to them that draws you in. And sometimes, again, in some lores, not in a good way, but I believe for this one, it is in a good way, or at very least a completely neutral way. And enough of a neutrality that this character, this little girl in the video, is kind of feeding off of that in a positive light. But again, over time starts to feel guilty about having that. Maybe she started to understand something over time that we don't understand because she has that connection. There are a bunch of ways to take this, but the lyrics, again, just that on its own, could be referring to somebody else as an elf, saying that they are the person in their life, in Otto's personal life maybe, that makes them feel comfortable and warm and happy at random times, somebody you can dance with and be jovial with because there is that connection, and just that their personality is so attractive and fun to Otto that maybe this is the song they decided to write. Maybe Otto just has somebody like that in her life. I'm sure a lot of us do. Maybe this is just kind of a love song to that person. It doesn't have to be a lover, mind you. It could easily be like a father figure, a mother figure, an aunt and uncle, anything, a really good friend. It doesn't really matter as long as this person gives the other person, in this case Otto, that elven feeling of just like, man, I feel so comfortable around you all the time. Why is that? I can't put it to words. Why do I feel so comfortable around you? That's the vibe, you know? So it's very possible that this is just the story doing its whole thing, being literal. It's just here to be written about this little girl and this elf in the visuals, and that's what it is. But I want to believe that this story is going a little bit deeper, and that Otto decided to take a page from her personal life's book and write a story utilizing mythology as a middleman of sorts, as a contextual piece, to be able to write about a person in her personal life that she just feels good around. You know, that's all it needs to be. I'm not sure, obviously. Like I said, there's a lot of potential that this song could have as far as interpretation goes, and I'm never going to be able to get everything right on that end. It is way too bold to say I would be getting it right, but I can do my best and make my guesses, and that's all I really do here. So hopefully I got it in the ballpark. I doubt Otto is ever going to see this, so I don't think I'll ever get that answer, but hey, maybe someday she'll talk about it or something. I know she does like live streams every once in a while. Maybe somebody will ask, who knows? But I think I'm done yapping, so thank you all so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want me to get to something else, by all means drop it in the comments below and I will do my best as always to get to those. Or if like Lysaria did for this one, you want to guarantee that I listen to something, you can always go to my Patreon or my YouTube memberships, where there is a tier that will force me to listen to whatever you want. Doesn't matter who it's by, what it's from, if it's good or bad, none of that matters. That's why it's a guarantee. If you don't want to do any of that though, and maybe just want to follow me and support me for more stuff coming in the future, you know how to do all that, and I will see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!